Hi, I'm Dr. Amy French. I'm the director of the Humanities Learning Center here at Delta College, and I'm really excited today because I'm with one of my fabulous colleagues. She and I actually hired in together many moons ago, and I've gotten to watch her career soar, and I'm excited to have her talk about her passion today and her area of expertise. Christine Yaroch is an associate professor of Spanish at Delta College, as well as the coordinator for the World Languages and Cultures discipline. This includes American Sign Language, French, German, Spanish. She completed her undergraduate degree at Siena Heights University and her master's degree at Bowling Green State University. And then as an undergraduate student, she studied abroad in 2 different areas of Mexico for 2 separate semesters. And also as a graduate student, she spent a year studying near Madrid in Spain. So she continues to have a passion for studying abroad and the powerful learning experiences it offers. She has taken professional development courses in both Peru and Cuba, and she's led a number of international trips for the Delta College community, really heightening our students' experiences. She's taken them to Peru, Brazil, Argentina, Ecuador, as well as student service learning trips to Costa Rica. So she's just, you can tell, she's fabulous. I'm so excited. Thank you, Christine, for being with us today.
And thank you for having me.
Oh, it's so exciting. And I'm hoping you're going to tell the community kind of, the reason that I reached out to you is that I myself have informally and formally studied languages, but I think most of us are just intrigued. We don't want to be limited to the language of our birth, the language that we were originally taught. So can you tell us, why would one want to study a new language?
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you for having me. Like I said, this is my passion. So when someone asks me to talk about languages and language learning, of course, I want to say yes. And that's such a big and important question. Why would we learn a language? Because it is not easy, but there's so many reasons. The first are the practical. If you're looking to enter the job field, the marketplace, it's a marketable skill. Whether the companies you're looking to work with need you to speak the language or not, companies consistently say that they're looking for people with multicultural awareness, cultural intelligence, and those skills. So it's good for that reason. It's also good for you. It's good for your brain. Just like we need physical exercise, we need mental exercise. And learning language is a really good way to literally to exercise your brain. And there's a lot of research that suggests that those that speak another language are at lower risk of Alzheimer's and dementia later in life. So it's good for you in that way. And then it's good for you in a personal growth and enrichment type of way. It opens us up for so many more opportunities, experiences, and more importantly, maybe connections with other people. When you speak someone's language, you can connect on a different level than if you speak a language that they understand. One of my most favorite quotes about language is from Nelson Mandela, and I have it written down, but just to ad lib. He's like, if you talk to someone, a man, in the language that he understands, it goes to their head. But if you talk to them in their language, it goes to their heart. And it's so true. It's one of my favorite quotes, because you can connect with someone when you can speak their language. It's a unifier, right? Another really interesting, I guess, book, if you, I'm sure you've heard of Trevor Noah. He hosts the Daily Show now.
Yeah.
He grew up in South Africa, and he wrote a book, Born a Crime, and he makes some really interesting arguments, I guess, in favor of language. And he talks about how a shared language says that we're the same. And those, you speak the same language as another person, there's just this connection with, millions of people that you otherwise wouldn't be able to connect with. And I think that awareness and, this, I guess it creates empathy, that we need that right now more than ever. Trevor Noah, to go back to him, he even says that language, even more than color, defines who we are to people. So it's so much part of our identity and who we are. And when you have another one of those, your identity changes and grows and morphs, and it opens up an entire new world.
That's exactly it. It does. It opens up a world. And I've been learning Italian. And for those of you out in the community who don't know that about me, I've been studying it informally. Christine knows, because she's helped me out and helped me link up with certain people. One of the things that I found interesting was that in Italian, they don't have a word for privacy. They use the English word, privacy. So that told me so much about the culture, and explains so much about, I have this American mindset, and this English speaking mindset of privacy, 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 you know,
Yeah.
and they don't have that there. And they don't even have a word for it. And it tells me so much about that culture.
Yeah,
But,
that's crazy.
you know, I have to ask you because I have been having such a hard time. Can adults really learn a new language? Do I have hope?
Well, here's the thing. We could get really technical here, and I can talk a long time about this, but to not make this super boring, the answer is like yes and no. Because if we get technical, you don't really learn a language, you acquire a language. It's a skill, right? And can an adult acquire a language? Yes, absolutely. And it's a myth that it's easier for a child to learn a language than it is for an adult. And of course, there's some differences. There's important differences. I mean, an adult is more aware of what's going on and is obviously intentional about learning a language, whereas a child is not. But a child, they have to form and understand an entire linguistic system along with learning a new language, so they actually have more to learn, right? Mm-hmm. But the child's immersed. So, you know, they're learning the language that's constantly around them. Whereas an adult, usually when we're learning a new language, we're not immersed in that language, right? But we can learn a language, absolutely. And the way we learn language is actually more similar to the way a child learns a language than it is different. So absolutely, yes, you can. It's important to know that it isn't acquired and it takes a long time. So I think what happens with adults is we get in our own way, first of all. We have unrealistic expectations. There's a lot of studies with different ideas on how long it takes to learn a language. But in the United States, there's a study that was released, I think by the CIA actually, and it's like, how long does it take? And they say that for a level 1 language, which includes most Romance languages, like Spanish, Italian, French, it takes at least 1,000 hours of study for an adult of average intelligence. And that's a long time. And so you see these apps, it's like learn a new language in 10 minutes a day. It's like, yeah, you will learn some language in 10 minutes a day, but you will not learn the language in 10 minutes a day, or like 10 minutes a day, 1,000 hours, like how many years is that? That's a long time.
So where do we start? Where does a person start then? If, you know, obviously we can't just dive in and start checking off our hours. So where would you recommend?
Well, take a class, of course. Here, teach at Delta. If you're a beginner, we offer beginner and intermediate levels, and consistently in Spanish, French, and American Sign Language. And we have the beginning levels of German. If we had enough students interested, we could offer intermediate German as well. So definitely take a class if you can, because if nothing else, it's accountability, and it's someone to ask questions to. You know, that's why I'm there for my students. You're studying and learning and you get stuck, and here I am to help you and guide you. Another thing, when you're learning a language, what's most important to acquire a language is that you're exposed in what we call comprehensible input, which means you're hearing language, but it has to be comprehensible to you. So it has to be in context. If you just start listening to Italian music or watching Italian television all day with no context, like, you're not going to learn. You'll learn very little, right? You have to hear language in context. So an instructor will give you, those opportunities with visuals and, things like that makes it comprehensible. So take a class. There are apps that do work too. There's a lot of resources online. I like things that are free, like Duolingo is one of my favorites. I recommend all the time because it is free and it makes it kind of fun it's like gamifying learning languages.
I'm on over 1,100 days straight.
That's impressive. That's a long time. Good job. And another thing that a lot of people don't realize is available is there's digital resources, and a lot of local libraries, public libraries, offer access to digital language learning materials for free if you're a member of that library. So look into that.
That's great. Any other resources that you think for language acquirers? What do you think about, for instance, sometimes I hear about kind of pen pal kind of things, like where you use Zoom to talk to somebody. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that's another great resource. Depending on your level, you could look for a language exchange group. And there's websites for that, right? There's lots of websites, but there's Facebook groups for free, multiple Facebook groups. So you could just language exchange group, where you join that group and you just put it out there. And in exchange, it's just that. So you would say, I'm a native English speaker. I'm looking to learn Spanish, Italian, French, whatever. And who wants, you could also say what you're looking for. Like I'm looking for grammar help because people are willing to do that. Or I'm just looking for conversations. That's a really good resource for someone who's already at the intermediate level. And you're just looking for someone to talk to. Or you could propose in a group like that, I just want a pen pal, or, I want to do Zoom meetings or Google Hangout or whatever. And you will get responses because the advantage of being a native English speaker is a lot of people do want to learn English. The disadvantage is that we do get lazy and we think that because so many people want to learn English, we don't need to learn another language. That's just not true.
Anything else that you'd like to advise us or share us? One lasting thought about just acquiring language. I love that. I love that you taught me that today, and I thank you for that. I love that you taught me that I acquire a language, and you've honestly, for those out here who are saying, why should I take a class? I think that we're seeing it right now. I mean, Christine here is someone, and it's not as if I haven't formally taken courses in languages, but she already, in just a few minutes here today, made me feel more comfortable, more confident. And I think that that's what a real person can do for you.
Right.
What you'd like to say to us before we take off?
Just go for it. Have the opportunity and take it. And it's all about exposure and time. And when you have the opportunity to use what you're learning to try it, because we do get in our own way. We're afraid of failure, but making mistakes in language learning is a necessary part of the process. And if most of the time, non-English speakers are not rude at all when you show that effort to speak their language. They're so excited, and like I said, it opens up. Even if you're not that good at their language, they're just excited and appreciate that you're making the effort, and they're not going to judge you. It's like maybe as English speakers, we are a little bit more judgmental. So we think that others are going to be that way towards us, and that's probably a stereotype. But just go for it, and don't be afraid of making mistakes. And also, know it does take time to get certain levels of fluency, but it is possible.
Well, thank you. I'm going to link below worldlanguages@delta.edu. That's the email address that you can talk to Christine about. And I'm sure once we all can start traveling again, I'm sure there'll be more travel classes that she can inform you about and everything else. Thank you so much, Christine. I really appreciate you being with us today, sharing your time, your talents, your enthusiasm, and your passion, and letting us know that at Delta College, we have world languages. You can explore cultures. You can have the world open up to you too. So you don't even have to really leave the Great Lakes Bay region. You can just come on down to the college. So thanks, Christine.
That's right. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.